Oh, hey, everybody. It's Alec from A Fistful of Vinyl.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
No, yeah, in the flesh or on the radio. Never mind. It's 11 o'clock, and that means it's time for A Fistful of Vinyl, and that means you're listening to KXLU. And if you're not, you should be, but that's really not the audience to try to coerce into listening to. We have a guest tonight. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Dustin Kensrue.
Yeah. And he's here, and he brought a guitar.
I'm here in the flesh, in this room.
Right.
Not
But also kind of in the
Not where
radio
they are,
space.
potentially. Probably.
in the airwaves. I was actually trying to explain airwaves and binary and stuff like that to my daughter this morning. It's
How'd it go?
interesting.
Was it
I think we got made some. She's very smart.
first of
some
many
ground,
talks,
yeah.
perhaps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Well-
we have lots of talks.
Good. Yeah,
She's
yeah.
the oldest, so since she's little, I've just been telling her weird things about the universe and things, and she
Is she
kind of
into
sucked it up. Yeah.
Cool. What kind? Do you get?
She was actually, she put her lab coat on today and was doing science experiments with her little sisters,
Cool.
Aw.
looking at slides in the microscope. I did
Cool.
come downstairs though and had to be like, whoa, because she was opening up this thing where you can make your own slides and had like some kind of liquid that's poisonous that she
Yeah, right.
should not have been getting.
She's a scientist.
Yeah. Dangerous part of the science, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, tonight it's going to look like we're going to play some music from our playlist, and then we're going to talk about musical things, mostly Dustin musical things, and then we're going to play some Dustin music. That word's not happening tonight. Yeah, and then
Are we gonna play with any dangerous liquids?
we'll see. That might be the problem, is that we played with some earlier. But yeah, I don't know. This is A Fistful of Vinyl, and we're actually going to start with In the Darkness. So yeah, listen up. All right. So I don't know. What do you say we chat for a little bit? What are you pointing at? Oh, right. More microphones.
He wants his microphone.
Oh, you can.
Just a microphone. I wouldn't call this one mine in particular, but I'll take it for now.
So cool. Those were two songs from your new record.
Yes.
Now, I listened to that a couple times this week. I love it, and it seems like, from my perspective, it seems like a record of like discovery of sorts. And shoot me down if I'm wrong, because I'm just like a
You're
dude
wrong.
listening to music. All right, so anybody else want to do a radio show?
Shots fired, man. He's all over you right now.
No, I was vulnerable, and
All right,
just
what do you got?
what do I got? It seems like a record of discovery, and I kind of wanted to ask, like, what did you discover in making this record about yourself, or like any ideas that you have about you or about people in general?
I don't know. Well, I think that song's a good one to talk about discovery in the sense of, I think sometimes you write a song and you can mentally connect with it. You're putting pieces together. You care about what you're writing about. But sometimes the actual song has more emotional impact to you later. I think that happens with me more than maybe a lot of people because I'm very analytical, and so I don't really generally write as like, hey, I'm processing, like this is therapeutic for me to write this song right now and get my emotions out. I process emotion stuff really slow a lot of times, and so that song is kind of generally talking about this idea of kind of things that you put your hope into that aren't capable of holding that hope. They're not always going to come through on that, and I think that's something for me that as I was putting out the record after I'd recorded everything, just seeing pieces of that in myself that I was actually struggling through much more than when I was actually writing it. Just thinking about, like, I don't worry about what people think about records when I'm making them, but then afterwards just kind of coming back around to that, being like, man, I care way too much about what someone's going to say about this, or what it's going to sell, or other people going to be at the show, or whatever. And just knowing all those things they're not worth putting my hope into at all. And just kind of fighting through that and seeing that, and now singing that song, actually having it be therapeutic at that point. Yes, like this is not
Like retroactively
something-
therapeutic.
Yeah, or just, I mean, sometimes that's why I like playing cover songs, because you're taking someone else's thoughts and kind of processing it yourself, and sometimes that same thing happens with your own music, I think, at least for me.
Cool. So given that you've, at least as far as I know, you've written pretty much all of Thrice's lyrics. You've written, a lot of solo lyrics as well. To what extent do you consider like the music that you've put out so far an autobiography? Or, I guess kind of Thrice and then your own solo work in there. And how does Carry the Fire sort of extend on that if it is sort of an autobiographical endeavor?
I think generally it's not. It's rare that anything is strictly kind of autobiographical. Exceptions, I think, would be like Of Crows and Crowns, which is a song that I specifically wrote for my wife, and so that's like, hey, I wrote this actually as like literally to my wife. And then there's songs like Juggernaut or something where it's drawing from things, but it's not just this necessarily like this is reality. And I mean, in that sense, for that song, like those are things that I aspire to and try to live up to, that but fail at constantly. So it's not a proclamation of like my goodness and in giving it a steady, reliable love, but more of a holding up of this as a value of something I want to be. So I think there's a broad spectrum of how autobiographical anything is. A lot of times I think there's a lived experience that then gets kind of reinterpreted into some kind of story in the song.
In sort of like an allegorical way?
No, just I think in a way to help it be a little more universal sometimes. But yeah.
And Juggernaut is the song, I think I've watched several of the videos where you sort of preface the songs with a sort of context in which you wrote them, or sort of like a deconstruction of the lyrics in a way. And that was the one I think we were talking about, like the 4 Greek ideals of love, right?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
And that actually, to bring John in on this conversation, that actually reminded me a little bit of there's a band that's big, and so we mostly do like a folk punk thing, and it's like very DIY based, and it's very sort of emotional in that way, and that a lot of these artists kind of use that as their foundation. Like if I have nothing else, I have my guitar and emotions and like the ability to sing about them. And there's an artist that we've played a lot of, a guy named Pat the Bunny, who has this refrain to one of his songs that's "Your heart is a muscle the size of your fist, keep on loving, keep on fighting, and hold on, hold on." And it was cool because sort of thematically to me, it was sort of found analogs between Juggernaut and that sort of ideal of just this sort of like relentless or like sort of like perpetual love. I don't know, sort of I would love to hear sort of like your difference in the definitions between these sorts of loves and like sort of the you used the word failure earlier, but I guess I would categorize it more as like aspirations towards something where you don't necessarily have to achieve your ideal, but like the idea that you're working towards it is, worthy.
Yeah, I mean the main difference between that kind of love and the other kind of loves that would be described that we have words for in Greek is that the other ones are based on something necessarily in the one who's being loved. So there's a brotherly love that's based on this affection. There's a storge is like affection, like you'd feel like love for your dog, storge for your dog, or I mean it could be for another person too, but generally it's.
But dogs are lovable.
Yes. There's I'm probably pronouncing all these wrong. Eros, like erotic kind of love, which would be like, and these are not always, they're not like mutually exclusive things, but agape or agape, everyone always pronounces it differently, but is this thing it's not based on the object of love. It's it's just pouring itself out for the object of love, regardless of anything coming back.
I like that. Sorry, everyone just heard me like process that in my mind.
You must have read a bunch of C.S. Lewis, yeah?
I like C.S. Lewis a lot, yeah.
For sure. Because he's got a bunch of, he writes about all of that stuff so much.
Yeah, he's got the book it was originally a radio broadcast.
Yeah, right.
I think that's the only thing that there's actually a recording of him speaking a book of his.
Yeah, right.
Which is cool.
Yeah, he's a super interesting dude. That was, I remember when the first time I read that, like The Four Loves, it was a very insightful moment in my life for sure. He has a lot of cool things to say, and like what is that book? The Story of Grief, or have you read that?
Grief Observed.
Grief Observed, yeah.
That's one of, I think maybe like 2 C.S. Lewis books I have not read yet.
Cool. Yeah, it's worth it. I think, at least I think so.
Yeah.
It was a very insightful book in my life.
That one's really interesting because it's just him processing it, and his friend basically convinced him to. His wife had died, and he's basically just his writings, and he wasn't going to release it. And his friend convinced him, "You have to let people read this." So he released it under a pseudonym until he died, and then they published it under his name.
Yeah, and in the intro he says that the manuscript is written in the back of a journal, and the book ends in this sort of like staccatoed way. And I guess he just like wrote until he was out of room, and then it was over. And it's like a super interesting way to formulate a book.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's really smart dude. Sorry, I didn't mean to like derail that whole conversation, but
no, I don't think that could be derailed. I thought it was super fascinating. Why can't I think of adjectives now? Jeez.
Fascinating is a good adjective. I think
that was awesome.
Yeah. Whoa.
I promise I'm smarter than that word. Well, I think. Okay, so you're gonna play again in a little bit. We're gonna play a little bit more off our playlist first. What the hell? I'll just ask it. So, I think sort of, kind of like legacy within lyric is really interesting, especially within the realm of folk music. So I'm wondering if there are any like particular lyrics of other artists that you feel have been like formative in some way, as far as you kind of constructing your own lyrics, or the way in which you, write a story in song. Like
a specific song?
Yeah, or in group of songs. Leave it open ended. You can answer it how you like.
Man, I don't know. I could tell you like some of my favorite lyricists.
No.
Okay. And this will be painful too because I'm horrible at actually remembering lists of things. So I'll probably forget a lot of stuff. Leonard Cohen, John K. Samson. Have you heard the Weaker Thans?
I've heard the Weaker Thans, yeah.
Weaker Thans are great. He's fantastic and really underrated, I think, as a lyricist, and just as a musician. My list is running away from me. I like those two guys.
If you like, we can revisit it after a song or two.
Yeah, it'll never come back. I think I really appreciate people who write pretty differently than I do, and I especially really good storytellers. And that's I think the way that I have been pushing myself to grow the most over the years as a lyricist, because I've always been pretty good with words, but I was not always as good with stories, I think, and so I've tried to grow in that.
Interesting. Cool. Well, you're listening to A Fistful of Vinyl. This is our episode with Dustin Kensrue. We're gonna have some more music in a little bit and some more talking, but first we're gonna have some music by some people that aren't Dustin Kensrue. This is The Deer Hunter. The song is called Isabella. You're listening to A Fistful of Vinyl. Oh, God.
Historical Conquest. I'd listened to it a ton.
Historical Conquest.
I was like, just kind of like, I find records usually that I like, really like, and I'll just listen to them a lot for a couple months. Mm-hmm. So I was at the tail end of it, and then all of a sudden she was just pumped on it, because I'd hang out with her a lot. When I was home from tour, and she was a nurse, she'd be working all day, like one of shifts, I'd just be hanging out with her, driving around, and then she got super stoked on it, so then I listened to it like for another huge listen.
Cool.
We took all 3 kids to see him live in Seattle when we were living up there.
Yeah.
At the zoo, so just like on the lawn.
Wow.
It was like a bring their own lawn chairs and they had a blast. There's running around dancing. It's so cute. It's good.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I don't even feel like he's such a good writer that I don't even feel like I possess the words to like adequately describe his writing. Like especially that album.
Would you say it's awesome?
I wouldn't say it's awesome, and I'd smack you if you did. What was it? The oh god. Yeah, the one where they're in the nuclear silo. It's something of Adam.
I think it's one of the best.
Yeah.
Best love songs. Best 20 years.
Yeah. It's so twisted. It's like so over the top with love that like the resolution to the song is like I don't want the person to leave who I love so much that I'm willing to destroy the entire world for them. Like so they'll stay here with me, and that like I could. You have no idea how excited I am to hear that you guys love Josh Ritter because it's like.
He's great. Yeah, I think that Mommy song on the what record's that?
That's on So Runs the World Away.
Yeah, that song what's it called?
The Curse.
Yeah. It's a really great song.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think the best play guitar band.
Oh, we're not gonna go live yet. I'm actually gonna play The Temptation of Adam really quick.
You got 2 seconds?
I can do it.
Can you?
Shh.
You didn't do it?
I did it fine. It's college radio.
I really like the dedication to the craft though.
There's this the last verse in Idaho is I think maybe it's best just a little piece of writing. It's the he talks about got your message in 10 years.
It's hard with another song playing.
Yeah. Here's your message. I thought I was on a boat until that single word you wrote. I turned the mast to cedar trees and the wind to gravel roads. I don't know.
Yeah. He's one of those artists that I've always turned to in times of very emotional need. Or not just need, but in a way to reflect any powerful emotion that I have. And I remember, I think it was my junior year at LMU, and a girlfriend and I had just broken up. And I knew it wasn't a good fit, but I wasn't also, it's not always that easy to move on from. And I took my dad to see Josh Ritter, and this was before his most recent album came out. And he played New Lover for the first time. You guys heard that one?
I don't know. I don't think I've heard the new record.
It's...
What was it called? We listened to that one on the way home from Seattle.
Gosh,
The white one?
I think
With his face?
New Lover at the show.
He played it before he played he played that maybe 6 months before anything else from that album got played.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, the last verse is the one that I always mark as the beginning of me turning around and the whole song's about wishing a former lover well and basically saying hey, it didn't always go that great with us and I hope it goes better in your future. But the last lines of that song are I hope you've got a lover now. I hope you've got somebody who can treat you all the ways that I couldn't seem to do. But if you're sad and lonesome and you got nobody true, I'd be lying if I said that didn't make me happy too.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I know that song.
Yeah, and I that line. That line did it for me because it's such a petty emotion. It's such an emotion you don't want to admit you have, and the way that he just kind of cuts through all that is oh hey, by the way, this is the thing that everybody experiences. I don't know.
It's very honest.
Yeah. All right, we can talk about stuff other than Josh Ritter now, guys. Welcome back to A Fistful of Vinyl, KXLU 88.9 FM Los Angeles. You're listening to our episode featuring Dustin Kensrue. The last song you heard was by Josh Ritter. It's called The Temptation of Adam. We talked about that a lot when you guys weren't listening.
So good.
Right? So good. And if anyone wasn't listening to the last lines, the singer basically says he'll destroy the world if he can like continue to spend time with the person he loves the most. And that line doesn't do it justice, but you should go and listen to everything he's ever put out.
He says our love would live a half-life on the surface. It's genius.
It's so tasteful.
He's in a bomb shelter.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, and there's like nuclear stuff and half-lives. Well, we could nerd out about this for the rest of the hour, but I think we got to earn it. So, cool. Shall we gab a little bit more?
Sure.
You say. John, mic incoming.
My microphone.
Cool. Wow. I'm in awe of some of what went on there.
Not the harmonica, obviously.
Yeah. How could you possibly?
We're better than that, man. Our show's higher quality than malfunctioning harmonicas.
I know.
I thought you were a professional, man.
Yeah. Did not check that harmonica adequately. No.
So cool. So talk about. Let's talk about.
I mean, I really want to. You like offhandedly mentioned covers, and like it's a thing that both of us really like.
Yeah.
You just played one. Why that one, and like what other covers do you really like? I guess.
Man, I don't know. I wouldn't mind playing any song off the record. I've probably covered almost half of it at this point.
Cool.
At various times. I like covering unexpected pop songs sometimes that would not be just seeing them in a different light, kind of different dynamics. So right now I've been doing a cover of Lord's Buzzcut Season. That's really cool. I've covered an Imogen Heap song, the one that's all like the vocoder stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What else, babe? My wife's here. Yeah, don't go there.
It's on record.
Old Thrice stuff. We used to cover stupid pop stuff. That was just stupid pop stuff. This is trying to be a little more transcendent.
Sure.
It's like Taylor Swift
I
level
like
of
doing
transcendent.
that kind of stuff, and then sometimes just songs that I really dig that maybe people wouldn't know a lot of time. I don't know, like I covered Leonard Cohen's Suzanne. It has to, for me at least, unless it's like doing like the Springsteen songs, it's just fun. Like it's just good. But sometimes like with that Leonard Cohen song, I don't want to just play it like kind of a mellow folk version. I want to kind of have it be really dynamic. So I'll figure out the right spot to kind of. I think that's at least with the ones I cover live. Like I usually try to build in a different kind of soaring dynamic, and that it'll usually kind of start a little more low and have big highs, big lows. I like doing it acoustic that way because playing totally solo, you have a lot of control of the dynamic of a room. You can ramp it up and then just drop it and just have like total silence, and so that can be really powerful and it's fun to do.
Nice.
Do you have any like recorded like covers that other people have done that you really love? Like any musicians covering other people's songs that have like stuck with you or whatever? Off the top of your head, no pressure here.
I like that Cat Power record that's covers.
Oh, the Sea of Love.
Yeah.
She does a version of Stone's Satisfaction that's really interesting. It's cool.
Nice. So there are a couple questions I like to ask all of our guests, and being that we only have a couple minutes left, I might as well get them out now. John and I are both very esoteric about punk, not just in general, about punk specifically, and that we find it has, sort of a different meaning to everyone we bring in. You've been a member of, punk scenes for a long time, and I ask...
Sorry, I need to use the cough button.
It doesn't actually work. Everybody heard you cough.
Sucker.
Got him.
Dang it.
What, as a philosophy, what does punk mean to you?
That's a good question. What it has meant to me, especially growing up, was this idea of really learning to think for yourself and to examine things. I was always bothered by. I felt like there was a contradiction when there was this undercurrent of think for yourself, process through the stuff, don't just take what's given to you. But then there was also kind of things that you were supposed to toe the line on, and that always rubbed me wrong. It's like, no, it's not necessarily true. So for me, being a Christian, like, there's definitely like parts of the punk scene over time that'll be like, well, you can do whatever, but you can't be a Christian. You can't, like, that's whatever. And so it was actually, I felt helpful for me in processing through my own faith and doubts and natural skepticism. Was this thing in punk rock, just being like, figure it out, like, ask those questions and find the answers you're looking for. And that sense of not just being handed something, but kind of working to find your own way, in a sense.
Cool. And then my favorite last question, if you're ready for it, John.
Yeah, sure.
What's on your playlist right now? And part 2 of that question is, what artists do you feel like deserve more attention than they're currently getting? That's another list question. Don't those suck?
Well, the first part's easier. I listen to a lot of National, and I've been listening to a ton of Father John Misty lately.
Nice. You played here not too long ago.
Oh, cool. My friend who we just had dinner with tonight looks a ton like him, so it's really funny because every time I listen to the record, I picture my friend singing it. I love the new Father John Misty, and I've actually been going back to the old one a lot lately too. What else? Those have been like the 2 big ones as of recent that I say, I kind of stick on a record. So that new Father John Misty, I've been listening to a ton. And with the National, I've been actually going back to Boxer because I never listened to that one a ton. I got into them on, what's the one after that? High Violet. And there's kind of a different production value on it, but I've been digging Boxer.
Cool.
And then bands that should get more attention. I don't know. I brought up the Weaker Thans earlier. Man, I think highly underrated. I don't think they're actually like playing right now, but they're great.
But they're a band more people need to listen to.
Yeah, I think in general, Hot Water Music is one of those bands that never got their due, and I think some of it's because the records don't fully, especially the old ones, sound horrible. But I toured the country with them a couple times, and just such an amazing band, amazing live band, and they have this sense of being almost like a punk blues band. It's like just the kind of the heartache in it, and they're fantastic.
Yeah, we've had our eye on them. We're talking to Sidewind Dummy, trying to get Chuck Reagan in here too.
Oh, Chuck's great. Yeah, Chuck's stuff is really good.
Huh. Well, I don't know. Any
I can tell him to come in if you want.
I want that.
I'll text him.
Yeah, shoot him a. Yeah, just. I do want that. Let's do that. We'll do that after we get off the air.
He's a very, very sweet man. Good
cool.
dude.
Yeah, I don't know. Any parting words for our audience? It's midnight. That was a very fast hour. Hopefully for you too. But yeah. Any words you want to leave the audience with?
No.
All right.
Thank you for listening. If you listen, cheers.
Cool. Yeah. Everyone, thanks for listening to A Fistful of Vinyl. Yeah, go out and get Nebraska by Bruce Springsteen. John, you got anything?
Parting words?
No.
I eat more garlic. It's good for you, man. It tastes really good.
Far out.
Yeah.
All right,
I've been eating a lot of garlic recently, and like.
Oh, we're elaborating. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me more about garlic.
I don't want to.
Is it bad for vampires? Is it?
I don't know, but you should just eat more of it.
I see you. All right. Cool. Well, I think our time's up. Dustin, thank you very much for coming to hang out with us.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a good time. And yeah, we'll be back next Monday, 11 p.m. on a KXLU. And this whole thing will be up on YouTube at some point. I'll let you know when. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening. It's been cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, just now.
we're just gonna hang out for a minute.
So the one thing about our mics is you really got to like cozy up to them. That's the thing about mics in general. These are kind of the only mics I ever deal with.
Wish I knew the word for this kind of mic.
Is it a condenser? Something on mics
You
really
know?
well.
Yeah, it's a particular kind of mic for sure, but I know one mic, he's a pretty cool dude. But
That was the worst pun. I hate that.
was it the worst pun?
It was a pretty bad pun.
Yeah, I'll take that. For
All
sure.
right, all right.
How old is your oldest daughter? How old are your
she's 8.
kids? 8, cool.
8, 5, and 3.
What are the moments as like I mean, I've never been a parent, but like what are the moments as a parent when you realize like, oh, you're actually understanding like this sort of stuff that I'm trying to explain to you?
Way earlier than you would think.
Yeah, it seems that way.
When you don't have kids, you're like, I remember thinking like,
Kids are dumb.
like when they're 4, are they like personal? Or, like, you know, like, and then it's
Yeah.
just like, well, that's just very ignorant.
Yeah,
They're-
yeah.
They're, I mean, they're little and picking up crazy amounts of information.
That's the darkness
Cool.
of the unknown.
Yeah.
In that sense,
I have one friend right now who has a kid who is like a year-ish. Yeah. And I know that she's been doing like sign language and stuff with it. And it's pretty cool.
Apparently, you
Like,
can
I'm
teach
hungry.
kids sign language before you can teach them like
Speaking
spoken
and
language.
stuff.
We
Yeah.
taught our kids some basic things,
Really?
like more,
Yeah.
all that. They can do that from like
Popcorn.
6.
I got that one down.
Popcorn? Well, they shouldn't be eating popcorn that young, so.
Maybe that was my problem.
All that popcorn.
It's just such
What
a
is it?
fun sign.
I this is the thing that I feel like I should know for sure. But what is it like? Honey, right? Is the thing you're not
Yeah,
like you
no
just
honey.
can't feed your kids honey?
You can get botulism from honey.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that.
But then, from like an allergy perspective, aren't you supposed to eat honey because then it makes you like immune to the like common allergens in the
After
area?
because their immune systems aren't
Developed or whatever.
developed enough to have honey and be able to fight the botulism in it, but
So what's
yeah.
the honey cutoff age? Like,
it's 12 months.
12 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next night, are you playing now? Next?
Yeah, we can do
Are you
that.
talking?
You're up by next.
Next time it plays, can I sneak over there for an Instagram picture?
Absolutely.
Obviously.
I saw you take a selfie.
I did take a selfie. Well,
Did you do your duck lips?
we had a really
Question.
we had a really esoteric conversation about selfies earlier, so it just seemed really appropriate that we do it. WWII. I don't really care. The world had ended.
I was thinking, speaking of covers and love songs, I was just thinking about that Keaton Henson cover.
Oh, the Fools Rush In.
Oof. That one really gets me.
Dustin, you want to sit for this one, or you want to stand up again?
Most of
All right.
Wait, you play the songs off YouTube?
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody. We're a fistful of vinyl. They can't know.
Funny, that's what we were talking about, babe.
It's really is the best way to do it.
under 16.
Well,
Under 16 is the, no, 16 to 21, I think that's the most.
It's like
I think
the
it's
number
under
one
16.
way
It's the
people
number
get their
one way
music
people
now.
listen to.
yeah. I mean, we use it because it allows John and I to work on our playlist from 2 different places and like be able to
So
see.
like, we have
No, it totally
years
makes
of back
sense. It's
catalog.
just funny
Yeah.
because it just shows how old we are. Like, this is so important to us.
That's what happens. So,
Yeah.
Are you gonna intro it now?
What's up?
Are you gonna intro it?
Yeah.